I wonder if you've ever heard of an Irish goodbye. Typically, an Irish goodbye is understood as a quiet and unnoticed exit. But if you were ever to attend a McCloskey family gathering and witness all the goodbyes said at various points along the way to the door, at the door, outside the door, on the driveway, with completely new topics introduced along the way, you would see that our family's version of goodbye is closer to this saying. The English leave without saying goodbye, and the Irish say goodbye without leaving. Jesus' long farewell discourse in the Gospel of John in some way reads like my family's version of a goodbye. In John's Gospel, the Last Supper is the night before Passover. In this event, this final meal is narrated in chapters 14 to 17, beginning with the washing of the feet and continuing with a long farewell, in the middle of which Jesus says, "Let us arise and go." But then the conversation continues with many of the rich and familiar passages we all love in the Gospel of John, until finally at the beginning of chapter 18, when Jesus must have said, "Okay, guys, now we really have to go." And they all get up and go across the Kidron Valley where there's a garden. And it is so worth reading this whole farewell discourse in one sitting, because so much of Jesus' message and meaning is contained there. We've been hearing excerpts from Jesus' farewell discourse these past days, and we're going to continue to hear them nearly every day until Pentecost Sunday, which is May 24th. One scholar calls these words that breathe the sweetness of a farewell blessing. So today is Tuesday, the fifth week of Easter, and our reading, John 14, verses 27 to 31, contains some of my favorite words of Jesus' long farewell. "Peace I leave with you, my peace I give to you. Not as the world gives do I give to you. Do not let your hearts be troubled or afraid. You heard me tell you, I'm going away and I will come back to you. If you loved me, you would rejoice that I'm going to the Father, for the Father is greater than I. And now I've told you this before it happens, so that when it happens, you may believe. I will no longer speak much with you." And actually, Jesus goes on for a couple more chapters. "But I will no longer speak much with you, for the ruler of the world is coming. He has no power over me. But the world must know that I love the Father, and that I do just as the Father has commanded me." I understand the reluctance to leave this room, as many in my family feel reluctance to leave a family gathering. These friends of Jesus love one another. They've been together these many months, these years, and now there's such uncertainty about what will happen when they leave this room. They have no way of understanding then the momentous things that will happen when they gather again in this room after Jesus' death. The magnetic Mary of Magdala will burst in to share with joyous energy the news of her loving encounter with the risen Lord. "I have seen the Lord." A couple will hurry back to tell everyone they've broken bread with the risen Jesus. The risen Jesus himself will come back to this room and breathe on them, saying, "Peace be with you." And as told in the Acts of the Apostles, this is the room where the many women and men, including Jesus' mother Mary and his brothers, will gather constantly for prayer. And they're all in this one place together when the tongues of fire come to rest on each one of them, filling them with the Holy Spirit and enabling them to proclaim the gospel in many different tongues. Yes, these things will happen in this room, the room Luke and Mark call the upper room, all in preparation for them to leave this room, animated and anointed to heal and preach and teach. I've spent a lot of the past year in this upper room, here in a cabin in the Shenandoah River Valley. Where is your upper room? Where during this year of sometimes being afraid and in lockdown have you heard his voice, sensed his presence, felt the breath of his spirit, the gift of his peace? I think of the women and men in that room, that upper room, attentive, attuned, sensing they were on the brink of something The time we're living in now feels like a liminal time. This upper room we've been in, a liminal space between what is and what can be. The world is slowly opening back up. My stalky irises are ready to pop. The lilies of the valley are blooming open. The doors to restaurants, churches, offices are beginning to swing open. And some people are talking eagerly about going back. I think about those women and men given the gift of the Holy Spirit at Pentecost. When they finally left that room, they entered a different world. They were different. Not that they exhibited the fruit of the Spirit, love, peace, joy, patience, generosity, self-control, faithfulness, gentleness, and every interaction. But they had a new vision of the world and their place in it. All those lessons from Jesus' life and those farewell words were not about going back, but about how to go forward with this new spirit, hearts open, ears open to where the spirit of truth is being voiced, hands open to giving and receiving healing, lips open to comfort, to preach, to praise, to prophesy. Friends, I pray that as we let Jesus' farewell words sink in, as we let the gift of his peace settle in, I pray we may open even wider the doors of our hearts, that we might see our world and our place in it differently. And now I see reluctantly, but clearly it is time to go, time to let you leave in peace.